People think rats are everywhere, but that misconception is the first crack in the illusion. The truth is that the rats we see in streets and trash piles are not the same as the ones kept as beloved pets. And this difference, thin as a strand of DNA, is where the real story begins. Sure, about to discover something most people never even question. Something hidden in plain sight, buried beneath squeaks and shadows. A truth so unexpected it feels like a trap snapping shut. Pet rats are not simply cleaner rats. They are genetic anomalies shaped by centuries of selective pressure, as rare as gold flakes buried in mountains of mud. And every person who ever owned one has held a biological rarity without even realizing it. Keep listening, because what you think you know is about to be dismantled. You might assume a rat is a rat, but science refuses to let that lie live for long. Pet rats didn't just come from wild rats, They came from the survivors of a brutal era of selective breeding. Long before they were companions, they were subjects. They were molded in laboratories that needed consistency, not chaos. Slowly, meticulously, harshly, they became their own lineage. A lineage that almost vanished more than once. Lineage that still teeters on the edge whenever a breeder steps away. Even now, their genetic pool is shockingly narrow. And if one more major breeder collapses, the entire lineage risks extinction. Yes, extinction. Before you panic, look closer at how this lineage began. The earliest pet rats were not lovingly bred for temperament. They were bred for predictability. Scientists wanted rats that behaved the same way under the same conditions. They wanted biological uniformity, not personality. And through that process, these rats became something entirely different from their wild relatives. Their genes shifted, tightened, and narrowed. They lost traits wild rats depend on. They gained traits humans never intended to emphasize. And the more their DNA locked into place, the rarer they became. But here's where the tension tightens. Those early laboratory rats were never designed to exist outside controlled environments. When they entered homes, they were suddenly faced with a world they were never built for. The problems began instantly. Reproduction was delicate. Litters were inconsistent. Immune systems were surprisingly fragile. And owners began noticing strange patterns, like how certain colors or body types seemed to vanish for years at a time. These weren't aesthetic accidents. They were genetic warnings. Most people don't realize that nearly every pet rat alive today descends from a shockingly small foundation stock. Hoya. Imagine trying to rebuild a forest using seeds from only 3 trees. That's the scale we're talking about. Every time a breeder retires, a branch of genetic diversity disappears forever. Every time a line collapses due to illness, another vein of potential dies with it. These losses accumulate silently, like sand draining from an hourglass. And with each passing year, the available gene pool shrinks further. No one outside the community seems to care, but they should. Because the smaller the gene pool, the more dramatic the risks become. You start seeing congenital issues appear like ghosts in the lineage. Tumors, heart defects, neurological tremors. Traits that were once rare become stubbornly common. Breeders fight to push them back, but they're pushing against a biological tide. And that tide is rising faster than they can drain it. Without intervention, the pets people adore are marching toward a genetic bottleneck. And bottlenecks are never gentle. They break species. But wait, why haven't we simply added new rats from the wild? The answer is deceptively simple. You can just toss a wild rat into a pet lineage. Their DNA is too different now. Their instincts are incompatible. Their immune systems clash. Their behavior destabilizes the entire line. It would be like introducing a wolf to save a dog, population possible, but catastrophic. Without new diversity, the pet rat gene pool continues to shrink. It's a lose-lose that breeders lose sleep over. Wild rats may thrive everywhere humans throw their garbage, but pet rats thrive almost nowhere. Their survival depends entirely on hobbyists, breeders, and the rare sanctuaries that keep their lines alive. Those people stopped today. Pet rats would vanish within 2 generations. Not decline. Vanish. Dissolve from existence as though they'd been nothing but a footnote in laboratory history, and the world would never notice until it was too late. Until someone asked, "Hey, why can't we find pet rats anymore?" And the answer would echo back, "Because we took them for granted." Now, here's another twist. Even within the pet rat community, certain varieties are more fragile than others. Hairless rats, Dumbo rats, Rex rats each carries recessive traits that depend on incredibly precise genetic balancing. One wrong pairing, and the line collapses. One unexpected mutation, and years of work disappear. Breeders juggle these risks every single day. And they do it knowing one miscalculation can destroy dozens of futures. Imagine holding something so delicate, yet so alive. That's the reality behind every pet rat you've ever seen. But this story gets even more intense when you realize how few responsible breeders actually exist. Many countries have fewer than 10 reputable ones. Some regions have none at all. And without them, people unknowingly buy rats from mills with no concern for genetics. These mills produce rats destined for short lives and long suffering. And when those rats die, the blame falls on the animal, not the system that created the problem. The cycle continues, feeding off ignorance, while the rare, carefully bred lines fight to stay afloat. And their survival hangs by threads, thinner than whiskers.
Picture this: an entire species, depending on hobbyists who breed in their spare time. No government support, no institutional oversight. Just people with passion, limited resources, and a calendar full of responsibilities. These breeders aren't running factories. They are preserving biological history, and the world barely knows their work exists. Without them, we would lose the domesticated rat forever. And losing something that rare should terrify anyone who understands genetics. The tension rises again when you look at how quickly lines can collapse. A single illness outbreak can wipe out a breeder's entire colony. A power outage can eliminate newborn litters. A relocation, job loss, or medical emergency can force a breeder to retire overnight. And with them goes decades of careful pairing, decades of health tracking and temperament cultivating, decades of perseverance against genetic odds, gone in days, sometimes gone in hours. And yet, pet rats remain some of the most misunderstood animals on Earth. People still believe they're common, dirty, or simple. They done to realize they are holding a creature so genetically fragile it barely exists in the wild anymore. They don't realize they are interacting with an organism sculpted through intense selection, an organism whose existence hangs on human dedication. The disconnect is astonishing, the oversight is tragic, and the complacency is dangerous. The next layer of truth is even more startling. Pet rats have traits that wild rats cannot physically replicate. Enhanced sociability, heightened intelligence, exaggerated trust, softer coats, mutated ears, altered facial structures. These traits may look cute, but biologically, they cost something. They cost survival mechanisms wild rats rely on. And without human care, pet rats would never survive the streets. This makes pet rats living contradictions. Domesticated animals descended from a species humans tried to destroy. Creatures born from laboratories, but destined for cuddles. Animals shaped by illness research, yet capable of incredible loyalty. It's ironic, beautiful, and unsettling all at once. And it highlights just how rare and unlikely they truly are. They shouldn't exist, yet they do. They shouldn't thrive, yet they try. They shouldn't trust humans, yet they love them. And every one of those traits is part of what makes them genetically priceless. But priceless doesn't mean permanent. We are watching the slow erosion of their diversity right now. Watching lines slip through cracks without anyone noticing. Watching colors disappear from the hobby. Watching health issues rise like stormwater in a flooding city. The signs are there for anyone willing to look. The warnings grow louder with every generation. And if we ignore them, the consequences will be permanent, irreversible, fatal to the lineage. If you've ever owned a pet rat, you've held something most people will never understand. A creature built from scientific precision and human compassion. A creature whose very DNA tells a story of survival. A creature far rarer than any wild cousin scampering through alleyways. And that realization should change the way you see them forever. Because rarity isn't always flashy. Sometimes rarity is soft, small, whiskered. Sometimes rarity chews cardboard and sleeps in hammocks. And sometimes rarity sits quietly in your hands and trusts you. Here is the hook stopper you didn't see coming. Pet rats are now considered one of the most genetically bottlenecked domesticated animals on the planet. Yes, more bottlenecked than some endangered species. Yes, more bottlenecked than certain dog breeds. Their entire future depends on a tiny population maintained by private individuals. And most of the world has no idea. Imagine losing them, not because of disease or disaster, but because the world never bothered to care. That's the real threat. And it's happening right now, quietly. But this story, I send just doom it, as a call to recognize value where others see garbage. The gold hidden in the trash piles of misconception. The treasure sitting in small cages, waiting to be understood. And understanding begins with awareness. Awareness builds respect. Respect builds support. Support builds preservation. And preservation is the only thing standing between pet rats and biological disappearance. This is your moment to understand what most never will. So the next time someone dismisses pet rats as pests, you'll know the truth buried beneath the myth. You'll know they are survivors of selective history. You'll know they are rare, fragile, precious. You'll know they are the product of human hands and human hearts. You'll know they're living anomalies, not street shadows. And you'll know that their existence depends on people willing to fight for their future. Let that realization settle, heavy and real. Let it echo long after the story ends. Because pet rats aren't common, they're gold in the garbage. And now you can never unsee it.